This spring, I may or may not have gone a little crazy ordering bulbs. Come with me as I show you all the fantastic, beautiful bulbs that we will have blooming next spring. Hello friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. I am Jenny, and yes, you heard me right. I ordered all of these fantastic bulbs this past spring. If you will remember last year, Megan and I did a video right on these very steps talking about the spring flowering bulbs that we had ordered. Well, at that point, it was late in the season and I basically was only allowed to pick from what they had left in stock. This past spring, I was not going to be left behind and I was going to make sure that I got exactly what I wanted. So I went ahead in May and ordered all of these fantastic bulbs from Von Engelen. I love this company because, one, they have just an amazing selection of really high quality bulbs. Not only just your regular, what we think of the standard spring flowering bulbs, but they also have really unique naturalizing bulbs that do really well in the South. So make sure you stay tuned if you were looking for some other alternatives for spring flowering bulbs other than tulips and daffodils. Of course, I have those. So we're going to start with those. And yes, I do have my cheat sheet because I do have quite a number of bulbs that I'm going to try to not go into major depth on them, but just enough to give you a little introduction about each one. And of course, we'll have pictures and all the descriptions with them. With that being said, I will do my absolute best to pronounce these all correctly, but some, as we get into them, can be just a wee bit challenging. Now, we're going to start with the tulips, and we're going to start with tulips that we are going to put, sorry, there's the honeybee. The honeybees are also very excited about all these bulbs, and they've been buzzing around us. I don't know why, because there's not any flowers on them, but anyway. So the bulbs, the tulip bulbs that we're going to put out on the new patio for next spring, because I know that that patio will be ready for next spring. We are going to go with first, of course, remember we've talked about the white light colors back there in that patio, so we're going to use Honeymoon. Honeymoon tulip is an absolutely gorgeous, this is what you call like a fringed tulip. So the edges are very lacy. They look like they've almost been shredded a little bit. It is a pure white tulip. I mean, absolutely gleaming of just pure whiteness. And they will get to be about 16 to 18 inches tall. So we have Honeymoon. I'm going to pair it with Pink Star. Pink Star, you will see, has a totally different look than Honeymoon. It is considered a peony type tulip, so just a really full bloom, and it is going to open with a magenta rose color, and then it will turn a paler pink with little feathered petals coming off of it. And it'll have a little bit of yellow and apricot in there as it matures. These are going to be right around that 15-inch mark. And then the last tulip that's going to go out in the patio area is Sweet 16. Sweet 16 is just one of the earliest pink tulips that is going to bloom. It opens just that great warm kind of what they call a ballerina pink color. It's going to have a little bit paler edges, and then it's really going to mature to a luscious pink color. So if you are looking for a pink tulip, you cannot go wrong with Sweet 16. It's going to be really interesting because the buds are going to set when the plant is still rather short, and as the buds open to the flowers, they will grow up through the foliage. So it'll be a little bit of a different look, a really unique look, and those are only going to be 12 inches tall. So I like having kind of the different heights in there, that they don't have to all be the exact same height. So the back patio should be an absolute glorious white and pink profusion come this spring. Now, over at the nursery, I have decided on this year we're going to go with the white and purple shades for our containers at the nursery center. So what I will do is when it's time, I will plant these in both of the huge aqua pots that we have at the pergola, and then maybe some other containers throughout the nursery, just depending on how many I have left. So first, again, we're going to repeat, and we're going to use Honeymoon again, because you just can't beat Honeymoon. It is just that gorgeous, white, really unique, textured tulip. Gorgeous. And we're going to pair it with Candy Prince. Now, Candy Prince has really nice lilac purple flowers on it. It's going to have like a pale lavender glow, just a really, really light purple color. So you've got that stark white, a really pale purple with the Candy Prince. Candy Prince is going to be 14 inches, so it's going to be a little bit shorter than Honeymoon. And then we're going to use Purple Prince, and Purple Prince, now it's a really deeper purple color, so we've got different shades of purple. Has a beetroot purple interior, and it'll be 14 inches, so it's going to be the same height as the Candy Prince. And then lastly, as far as the tulips go, we're going to use Silverstone, and Silverstone is going to have that striped variegated look to it with the deep magenta purple, then it has that soft pale lavender edges and kind of that silvery sheen to it. And there's that great bicolor look, and it's going to be 14 to 16 inches. Now, to be dramatic and fun and exciting, I am going to throw in there some of the Gladiator Allium bulbs, and I actually have them right here. These are, if you're familiar with these bulbs, they are nice and big. So this is that great Gladiator bulb, and alliums, of course, an allium is a type of onion. So we love the Gladiator alliums because they're going to get really tall on these long, tall, slender spikes, and they're going to have like this 5-inch bulb of a bloom. Just a nice deep purple. So imagine, and I've got 5 in a bag, so imagine in each of those aqua pots that you have 5 of the Gladiators, nice and tall with that deep purple, and then underplanted with that mix of white and those different shades of purple tulips. If it turns out in real life as I pictured in my brain, it will absolutely be glorious. Now, I know that I have told you this before, and I'm going to tell you this again. With your tulips, if you are in the South, and even when I ordered these from them, when I was checking out, I actually had to check a little box to say if I was in zone 8 or higher, that I agreed I would have to pre-chill my tulip bulbs and some other bulbs because our winters do not get cold enough. So, just to repeat, I know that we are in North Carolina, a zone 7B. 7B, technically I don't have to chill my tulips, but we are right on the border of a zone 8. I mean, you go 15 minutes down the road and it's a zone 8. So what does it mean to pre-chill your tulip bulbs? Well, I'm going to take these are all my tulips, and I have some in some bags here. I am going to take my tulips. So they're all connected together. And I am going to take all of them and I'm going to stick them in the refrigerator for a minimum of 10 weeks. Basically, we're going to fake out the bulbs to make them think that it is winter. A nice, cold, consistent temperature in the refrigerator. Now, you do this for a minimum of 10 weeks, but you could actually do more than 10 weeks. So here we are in October. If you ask Siri to go for 10 weeks out, it's going to put you probably at the end of December, 1st of January, just depending on, what time you actually get your bulbs in the ground. For me, I'm not going to plant mine in my containers till probably February. So they'll stay in the refrigerator for 10 plus weeks, however long that turns out to be. So they'll have a nice deep winter's slumber in the refrigerator. I go ahead and plant them as normal in a container. So if I wanted to put some like on these containers here in the porch, I could do that in the full sun. And then they believe they've been faked out and they think that it is spring, and so they start emerging so that they will then bloom in all of their glory when the spring hits. Tulips are cool weather plants. They hold their blooms longer when it's cooler. So if you go too late and they start blooming, you know, for us in April and May, well, our Aprils and May can be really, really warm. So the earlier the better, so that way they have plenty of time to come up. Therefore, you get gorgeous bulbs and flowers. If you do not pre-chill your tulip bulbs, what's going to happen? Well, you just may end up with nothing. Maybe they don't even come out of dormancy, or maybe you get great foliage or you don't get the blooms. For us, I treat tulips as an annual because, yes, I could dig up the bulbs, store them, go through that whole process. For me, with all that is going on in our life, it's just too much work, so I treat these as annuals. But it is glorious, and I don't mind a bit allowing them to be annuals. All right, so that is all about the tulips. I will say, when you're buying, they're a little messy. But right, it's not gardening until you get dirty, right? When you're picking out your bulbs, like if you go to a nursery center or a garden center or wherever you are, a big box store, what have you, and you can actually put your hands on the bulbs, you want to make sure that your bulbs are nice and firm. If they give way, they're smushy, they're really papery, don't buy them. They're not any good. They should have a nice, firm texture to them. That way you know they are nice and healthy. All right, now let's go on and talk about some of the neat and unique bulbs that I'm going to put into the landscape. So here we go. Now this is where the pronunciation may get a little funny. Now I am going to do another allium, but this allium is very different than like Gladiator. Similar but different. It is similar in the fact that it will have a nice globe-shaped bloom on it. About 5 inches as opposed to where Gladiator's like 6 inches across. So this is, again, forgive me, Allium KARATAVIENSE. I don't know. You can see the name up on the screen and you can figure it out. This is going to be a full sun bulb. It will be one that's going to naturalize. Now what's really interesting is with your alliums, they are going to be naturally deer pest resistant. Because it's in the onion family, deer, rabbits, squirrels tend to stay away from them because they don't like that onion flavor. Whereas my Gladiator is going to be really nice and tall, this one is going to be short. It's only going to be about 8 inches tall, really nice, gorgeous foliage on it, real wide leaves on it with that really sweet white globe bloom on it. They're going to be white with a pale purple pink globe, and then on the edges of the leaves it'll have a nice little red color to it. Like again I said, and it grows really well in zones 5 to 9. So what I will do is I will take these bulbs and I will plant them throughout the nursery, whether it's underneath the pines in a sunny area, or maybe I stick some over by the pond, just in little nooks and pockets throughout the nursery. Next, we have an anemone. Now, anemones, can't remember where these guys are. I think they're somewhere in here. There's too many bulbs in here. So this anemone is white Splendor. Now this will be good because it's full to part sun. So I can put it underneath the pines where it gets great filtered sun. This is a very much of like a small daisy flower. That gorgeous white creamy daisy-esque bloom on it. They're actually called, also known as Grecian wildflowers. So if you've ever heard of that, this is what they are also called. They are deer and rodent resistant. They do really well as underplantings for taller bulbs. So if I wanted to plant this underneath my jonquils, or if I put tulips in the ground or hyacinths, then these would do really well planted with them because they're going to be shorter. They're only going to be about 4 inches tall. So just a nice sweet white blanket going out in those areas. The foliage is very fern-like, so that'll be neat against like a jonquil bulb or in the foliage where it has a completely different leaf structure to it. So that is the white Splendor. next we have some crocus bulbs. Now, crocuses, it's hard to see in here, but you're gonna have to trust me on this. They are little tiny bulbs that look very much kind of like an acorn. I don't know, or like a little tiny onion bulb, very small. Now, this is Goldilocks. Goldilocks, of course, if you haven't already guessed, is going to be a gorgeous, bright yellow gold color. These are also known, this specific variety species is also known as a snow crocus, because we know that crocus blooms early anyway in the spring, even late winter. Well, these are going to bloom before other traditional crocus. So they can bloom 2 weeks earlier than your traditional crocus. So you could easily, if you're in that part of the country where you have snow, you could have these coming up out underneath from the snow. They open and close on sunny days, so that's kind of fun to watch. They are deer resistant. They will naturalize really well. They are full to part sun, and they have a nice little smell to them. So that's a really neat, and just a deep yellow flower on it. So again, we will be planting these throughout the pines, just different areas. So we'll have little pockets of, you know, that gold from the Goldilocks and the white from the white Splendor. All sorts of fun flowers this late winter, spring for Creekside Nursery. The crocus, I will say, are zones 4 to 8. So that gives you kind of an idea on the zones for those. Now, Brodiaea, I think I'm saying that right. This is really neat because, again, the bulbs are very similar. I know you probably can't see this, but they were very similar to what the crocus bulbs look like. And this is interesting because they're native to California. Who knew? So they are native to there. They're also called fool's onions. So again, they're in that family, so they will be deer and rodent resistant. Again, I guess the deer don't like to have onions, so therefore these would be great ones to plant if you have pesky deer in your garden. They like really moist, fertile, well-draining soil in full to part sun. It is just fantastic to put in like woodland areas. If you have a rock garden, this would be a great thing to put in there. Just a delicate star shape with those pale blue flowers. Just an absolutely gorgeous color. They also make great cut flowers, so you can use those. I mean, look at the blooms on these things. They're gorgeous. Why would you not want that growing and naturalizing in your space? I just love it. These are going to be hardy in zones 6 to 9, and they will end up being 14 to 18 inches tall. So again, very versatile. Love that. Now, we have, get these guys out of the way here. One of a bulb that I grew up, because my mama had these in her garden all the time. And this is, let's see if I can open it up for you. This is called Muscari, also known as a grape hyacinth. So my mama still does, has these growing all underneath some pine trees, and they just naturalize and they just pop up everywhere. But these are just great little bulbs. So the Muscari is absolutely one of the best original blue grape hyacinths. This is native to Turkey. Interesting. And it is just one of the most prolifically planted bulbs of all time. So extremely common, but it's common because it's so easy and adaptable, and they're gorgeous. So again, they're going to bloom early in the spring, late summer. They pop up. I always notice, and it'll be really interesting this year since we're a honeybee host family, to see all the honeybees come to it, because this is one of the first flowers that will open, and with that gorgeous purple color, then they are attracted to those blooms and will come to it. They are deer and rodent resistant, so yay for that. They like again, I said, they naturalize wonderfully well. They're in zones 4 to 8, little short ones, only like 4 inches tall, and just fantastic plants. So I just cannot wait to plant these. Sometimes you'll see like in garden magazines, or if you're on Pinterest and things, and they'll have a picture of it. If you've ever seen where they have like this whole like woodland area planted in bulbs, and they have this swatch of like purple, blue, and it looks like a river, and then they have other bulbs planted on the side. Most likely that is this grape hyacinth. So this Muscari, like I said, it's just fantastic. So you can get really fun with how you want to plant them. You can pretend it's like a river or a creek going through your garden. Really fun. And then last, well, it's not last, excuse me, it's kind of last, but it's not. To go out into the landscape is my beloved jonquils. So this year, instead of getting individual varieties, I went ahead and got the Southland mixture. Last year when I went to go order late, this mixture was already gone, but this mixture was specifically combined for our warm climates. So if you will remember, I tell you that jonquils do really well here. So if you are looking for narcissus, if you are in the south, really kind of zones 7 and above, then you really want to go for those jonquils. Jonquils will naturalize and do really well here in the south. So the Southland series is going to be a lot of different flowers in there. There's going to be some double blooms. There's going to be some peach ones. There's going to be the trumpet ones, the large cup, the split cup. All sorts of gorgeous different varieties of narcissus will be in here. They do not like to have really wet feet. So you need to put it in an area where it will drain well. Yes, they can get wet, but they just can't sit in soaking wet soil. And I know with our red clay that sometimes that can be an issue. So you need to have an area that it will drain well. If you can, give it some where when they come up, it will have filtered sunlight. If you can have some filtered sunlight and not just pure all day sun, you will find that your flowers will last a little bit longer. So really that this mixture, it is composed and made up for those warmer climates, but it will actually do well, of course, in the northern climates as well. So really anywhere from zones 5 to 10, which is pretty much the whole country, that these will work, and they will be anywhere between 16 to 20 inches tall, depending on the variety. Now, I can say last but not least, as far as the flowering bulbs that we got. Now, this is not a spring bulb. This is going to be a Christmas bulb. This year I went with, Jerry was like, oh my gosh, those bulbs are huge. And I was like, yeah, I know, but they're Amaryllis. So in here, there are some really large bulbs. There are 4 different ones, so I went with the mixture. This is the Christmas flowering double mix. So we have First Love, which is a nice soft pink with raspberry and white stripes. Each bloom will get 8 inches across. Then we have Inferno, which as the name implies, it is a deep, deep red. Rosetta is going to have those really pretty, fluffy, pale rose flowers with the dark pink stripes in it with a little bit of white highlights. And then finally you have Snow White, which of course by her name implies, as she is, just that pure white, frilly, gorgeous, glistening Amaryllis. Now, Amaryllis, they come to you already ready to go. All you have to do is plant them in your pots and let them go. You want to plant them about 8 to 10 weeks before Christmas or whenever it is that you want to have them blooming. You don't have to worry about pre-chilling them. Just go for it, get them planted in a pot. Now, because you're planting them in this time of year, they are an indoor bulb. If you have kids, grandkids, or you've never done any bulbs before, this is a great one to do. All you need is a sunny window and a nice little container that you can put it in. You don't even have to have soil. They'll grow just in water with some rocks in it. I'm sure we'll do a whole video on that, but I know we did one last year. Amaryllis are really fun to do and really easy, and it's a great way to have gorgeous flowers in your house around Christmas time. So those are really fun to do, but I hope that you have enjoyed this little shopping spree that I can share with you. I am sure that we will do videos of us actually planting all of these things. Of course, the tulips will be planted in February-ish time, and then all of the other ones will be planted sometime this fall. I'm just keeping them in the house where they're nice and dry and cool, away from the humidity before they get in the ground. I am taking the tulips over to my father-in-law has an extra refrigerator because you can imagine, family of 5, I don't have quite enough room to put all these in. So Papa has allowed me to borrow his refrigerator once again. Graciously said, yes, I can store my tulips in his extra refrigerator. So that's great. Y'all have a fantastic day. We'll see you next time. Happy gardening. Thanks so much. Bye, friends.